If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Federal government confirms 20 new cases of COVID-19 and the second death from the disease in Nigeria, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 131. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde tests positive for COVID-19, says he's asymptomatic but remains in self-isolation. 5 additional COVID-19 patients discharged from the infectious disease hospital in Lagos after recovering from the infection. And authorities in Spain say the COVID-19 outbreak in the country is slowing after recording lowest number of new confirmed cases for a week. Last we'll have business, sports, news from Abuja, the FCT, and later on our international news from our studios in London. Let's just update you now on what we know from the NCDC, that's the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, concerning COVID-19. 20 new cases announced today, 13 of those in Lagos and 4 in the nation's capital, Abuja. In terms of this breakdown, that's the state breakdown, which you can see on the screen there, we have 81 cases for Lagos, the FCT Abuja 25, Oyo State 8 cases, Ogun, Kaduna 3 cases each, Enugu, Edo, Bauchi and Osun have 2 cases each, while Ekiti, Rivers and Benue have 1 case each. That's just a look at the spread of the virus looking across the states. And of course, the country has recorded 2 deaths from the virus so far. Now we have to talk a bit more about COVID-19, but this time let's focus on those in the front line of the battle, talking about medical personnel. I'm now being joined live from Abuja by the president of the Nigeria Medical Association, Dr. Francis Faduyile. We appreciate you coming in. Thanks a lot for joining us on the news at 10. Now, care workers like yourself...
It's my pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. Care workers like yourself are front and center right now. We hear good news on one hand, the cases being discharged, but then more cases recorded today. How would you say your colleagues and yourself are faring on the field?
Well, I think the most important thing is for us to be appreciative to those of us who are at the front line of the treatment of the COVID-19 cases. Again, we have had some of the patients who have recovered fully from the COVID-19 disease. And it's a very great thing that is happening in this country. However, we are still in the slope up by having numbers of newly diagnosed cases every day. Today we had 20. And it means that as we are having more of this testing that is coming up, it's likely we continue to discover more patients who are COVID-19 positive. But importantly is the response that we have had so far from especially the Lagos and the FCT, where many of the cases are being diagnosed. And I think what we have had so far is encouraging. We are hoping that we can continue in the management of those who are positive, and we can also continue to ensure that the contact tracing is done more vigorously so that we can mop up everyone that is having contact and possible positive for COVID-19 infection.
All right, there's still a lot to understand about it. Just from the perspective of those who have recovered, when they recover, do they become immune to the virus? Can they contract it again? And I'm asking that because obviously we hear reports from China about 10% of people who've recovered testing positive again. What are you hearing from medical researchers on the field about the life cycle?
Well, I think it's important for us to know that the COVID-19 that was just discovered, or just the mutant one just came up in December in 2019, is still very early for us to be able to say with all certainty that we have this immunity against it once one has recovered from that illness. What we have seen is that we have had occurrence where someone who has recovered had been reinfected. But in medicine, there is nothing that is absolute. If it is 1 out of 100 or 1,000, it does not mean that everybody will not have that immunity. So it's still early to call, but one of the things that we can certainly say is that since it's a viral infection, the immune system of the body will have to fight it, and once you recover, there are some immunity or hyper immunity, let me use it that way, that was able to surmount that viral disease. And in that way, some of the blood sample of some of the people who recovered are taken so that they can use it to treat those who are having fresh cases. So we are hoping with time, medicine and scientists will have better understanding on the virus, and will be able to say with certainty if it's going to give a lifelong immunity for those who have been infected.
All right. The Nigeria Medical Association President, Dr. Francis Fadile, thanks a lot for joining us on the News at 10 tonight.
Thank you very much.
Residents of the nation's capital, Abuja, are embarking on last-minute preparations as the two-week lockdown ordered by the president commences. Some residents who spoke to Channels Television shared their concerns on how the lockdown will affect businesses and the livelihood of many.
It's a few hours to the lockdown of activities in Abuja, and residents are taking this directive seriously.
I am directing the cessation.
President Muhammadu Buhari in a live broadcast had announced a total lockdown of activities in Abuja, Lagos and Ogun for 2 weeks to curtail the spread of the COVID-19. One after the other, vehicles file in to fill up their tanks to aid their movement in the next 2 weeks. Some residents are not taking chances should there be any form of shortage in power supply. We ask them what they think about the lockdown.
You can see how things are now. Everybody is rushing to the bank, to the filling station, to the market. Like I'm here now to get fuel, and I've been trying to get water. It's almost impossible to get water. Everywhere I go, they say no more water. So, well, God will help us. We'll see how we'll get through. But this is a good sacrifice to make. I think it's necessary we do this. It's better than dying the coronavirus way.
I came to buy fuel, buy my things, my food stuff, so we can do like as they said that we should stay indoor till 2 weeks interval before we came in. Now we prepared for safety.
For 32-year-old Samuel Ndukwe, the lockdown has affected his business negatively. His sales of about 12,000 to 15,000 naira per day has reduced to 2,000 naira.
Just a surprise. I'm getting ready. You can see me. I'm trying to get some fuel for my generator because I don't know if there will be light. So I'm just getting prepared. I locked my shop. We are not opening today. Everybody is getting prepared. Nobody knows what will happen next. Well, I feel very bad because it has spoiled so many things for me. My business, nothing is going now. Everything is down.
Queues for banks and ATMs are also long as residents prepare for the days ahead. Hopefully, the lockdown directive issued by the authorities will help stop the spread of the virus within a short time.
Now, Lagos is another state that will witness a lockdown, as you know already. But what may interest you is how the people are getting ready for that lockdown. Our correspondent, Yomi Otaigbe, was at a highly populated local government area in the state, and now reports.
Ahead of the total lockdown in Lagos State from 11 p.m. of March 30, 2020, last-minute shopping and movement of persons in the Yanopaja area of Alimosho local government area of the state is on the high side. This is expected because Alimosho is the largest local government in the state with 1.2 million people if you go by the 2006 population census figures, or over 2 million people if you go by other estimates. Here, most shops that deal in non-essential goods and services are under lock and key. But from banks to markets and other stores, the people turned out in their numbers to get food and other items they can store up for use during the no movement period.
Well, I bought rice. I'm here to buy tomatoes and some fruits for my family. I'm here to also buy food materials.
While some of the people agree with the lockdown measures, others have advice for the Lagos State government on the execution of its economic stimulus package for residents, which targets 2,000 households in the first phase.
Whether na 1,000 each person, whether na 1 liter of rice, make it they carry and come house. We na their house. We not go anywhere. Make it they do and like say they want to do immunization.
It is very good for people to stay at home to avoid the viruses to be contacted from each and every one of us. But the only thing that we beg the government, Muhammad Buhari, if they are going to give us money, because 14 days for us to stand at home, to stay at home without anything, is not good. They should use our BVN to be sending money to each and every one of us.
The 14-day sit-at-home period may be challenging for most Nigerians, but as some government officials at different levels and health experts have said, the lockdown is a sacrifice that is necessary at this time to prevent the spread of coronavirus in Nigeria.